You're one of those people that goes and borrows books in the library here?
Not borrow. Just read in the place.
Oh, you read it in the place. Ah.
Change the book.
That's actually really fun. I can't remember the last time I did that. Like, when was the last time that I went to a library to just go there, pick up a random book, read it over there, and like not even borrow it, take it home. I just like read it there on the spot while I'm waiting for something. I think the last time I did that, not gonna lie, it was like middle school. Or maybe not even middle school. I want to say it was like elementary school. So I used to be really big on going to my school library. In large part, the reason why I did that was because I used to get bullied a lot and like I didn't have any friends, especially like back in elementary school. And so as one does when you're bullied and none of the kids want to be your friends, like you just kind of crawl into the sanctuary of a library. And actually, I guess in hindsight, I guess I'm kind of glad. Well, on the one hand, I'm not glad that I got bullied as a child and like now I have everlasting trauma from, you know, having that kind of a childhood. But I guess that was what solidified my identity as a reader. Well, that was definitely the thing that kind of got me into reading. And I always wonder, had I not been the bullied kid at school, if I had a lot of friends and I never felt the need to retrieve into the sanctuary of a library, like would I still turn out as an avid reader? And it's like, which one would I rather? Like, would I rather be like the kid with friends and like not be a reader, or the kid with no friends and got bullied and like I have trauma from getting bullied, but at least I'm a reader? I don't know. Maybe I should unpack that in therapy, which I only occasionally go like every once in a while. I keep getting a lot of questions from people like, Indah, do you still do therapy? And like, you know, people would ask me for recommendations. I go to therapy every once in a while when I feel like I really need it, like when I feel like there's just so much that I gotta process that I'm not able to do alone. And in that case, for both psychology and psychiatry, I go to Ciputra Medical Center. It's in Lotte Ciputra World Mall. I think that's the name of the mall. I'll put it up on screen. But for both my psychology and my psychiatry, mainly psychiatry, because I do every once in a while, I still go on antidepressants. There's another therapist that I've gone to. Her name is Dr. Cassandra. I'll also put her information up. All of these places are really fucking expensive. I feel like y'all don't need me to tell you that anything to do with psychology and psychiatry in Indonesia is just like crazy expensive. But I mean, yeah, that's the information if y'all need the information. But no, we're not here to talk about mental health and therapy and all that type of stuff in this episode, actually. Like, we're here to talk about the best and worst books of 2024. Today is December 17. By December 23, you will not hear from me. None of you. Not even you, Tito. I will disappear. I'm gonna focus the holidays on primarily two things. It's gonna be reading and sleeping. Mostly sleeping, because I feel like I'm really sleep deprived. And I don't know if this is like, I don't know if there's like any medical contentions from medical professionals or whatever, but like I would recommend that if y'all can afford it, for just like spend 1 or 2 days. Like that's what I do once every so often. Like I would spend 1 to 2 days, dedicate that to just sleeping, to catch up on all of my sleep debt. And we'll get back to the topic of sleep debt because there's actually one book in my list of best books of 2024 that talks about it. But I feel like I should just shut up and get to the fucking damn list already. And also there's gonna be my must reads in 2025. So yeah, let's just get on with it. Best books of 2024. Let's start there. I got 7 books on my list for best books of 2024. I feel like the first 2, I'm about to sound like a record here because I've talked about these 2 books over and over again. And no, it's not gonna be Stolen Focus. Even though I'm mentioning Stolen Focus right now, I'm not gonna be putting Stolen Focus in any of the lists today. At this point, Johan Hari should like pay me to basically endorse him because that's what I've been doing. But really, like my most recommended book of all time. I've read a lot of books, and the number 1 book that I keep recommending to everybody, literally everybody, is Stolen Focus. Like y'all will hear me talk about it over and over again. I've recommended to so many of my colleagues, my friends, and every single one of them that actually listened to what I say and actually took the time to read the book and finish it. Like all of them come back to me and they're like, wow, Indah, you're so right. This book is life-changing, and it truly is. I want to say that this would be the last time that y'all will hear me talk about Stolen Focus, but unfortunately, I feel like I'll just keep going on and on about it. Anyways, let's go on with the list. Best books of 2024. Number one on my list is Psychology of Money. It falls a lot under money management as well. It's like reevaluating your psychology of like why we do the things that we do with our money. Why do we feel the way that we do with our money, and like the ways to curb about that so that you just become more financially literate and financially responsible and somebody that has good financial management, which I think everybody 100% needs to read. Number two on my list is Ego is the Enemy by none other than Ryan Holiday. Again, if you listened to my birthday episode, like, y'all would have heard me talk about this book, and it really is like, is there something wrong? Okay. Sorry, Tito was in the back. These lights are so blinding, I can't see. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and this really is one of those books that I personally am going to be rereading every year because I feel like we need that yearly reminder to basically keep our ego in check. And one of the things that you really learn and realize from this book is how much great civilizations and great leaders in the past, like how many of them have fallen all because they couldn't keep their egos in check. There's another book by Ryan Holiday that I would like to recommend everybody as like a good bedside book. A bedside book is basically like, I keep a book or two next to my bed for the nights that I'm having a hard time sleeping, and mainly so that, you know, ideally on an ideal night I would reach for the book and read and, you know, fall asleep rather than just doom scrolling on social media until I pass out. And a bedside book, I mean, I guess there's no criteria for a bedside book. You can keep whatever book you want on like the side of your bed, but I typically, like, my criteria is it better not be a book that stimulates me so much that I stay awake all night. Like, it's one of those books that just kind of like maybe lulls you to sleep a little bit, even though I wouldn't say that this lulls me to sleep. It's just a book that doesn't overstimulate you. A good one to get is The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. So basically, it's kind of like my version of the Bible. It's kind of like a Stoic's Bible, but not really. Like the Bible's a lot longer. This one is more so, The Daily Stoic is more like, I think there should be like 365 pages of it. Each page is a day, and so it's like every day. So for example, today's December 17. You can go to December 17 and there's gonna be a passage like very, very short. I'll put up an excerpt on screen just so that you can see it. But yeah, that's what I keep on my bedside for the nights that I can't sleep. And sometimes it's like, I mean, I don't have to just stay on December 17. Like, for example, I can just read today. I can read December 17 and 18 and 19. I just keep going until I fall asleep. Yeah. Okay. Number 3 on the list. I swear, these lights are so bothersome. Oh, you fuck. Okay. Number 3 on the list is Educated by Tara Westover. It's basically a autobiography. Wait, what's the difference between autobiography and biography? Autobiography is the one that you write yourself, and biography is the one that somebody else writes of you. The purpose of an autobiography is to share the author's life experiences and achievements. Okay, so I guess it's more like an autobiography, but I think more correctly, it's a memoir. So Educated by Tara Westover is a memoir of, basically, she's this girl. She grew up in a Mormon cult in where is she from? Hold on. Idaho. So she grew up in this Mormon cult in Idaho, and because she grew up in a cult, she was pretty much shut off from the entire world. And one of the key things is that she wasn't allowed to go to school. But Tara Westover, basically life happened and she had the opportunity to go to BYU, which is this Mormon university based in, I want to say Salt Lake City, Utah. Or maybe not Salt Lake City, but somewhere in Utah. But that's not the point. She had the opportunity to go to BYU, and because she had the opportunity to pursue an education, life just opened up, and she basically found the will and the way to leave her Mormon cult and just pursue life the way that she wanted in absolute freedom. And I put this on my list not only because to be honest, I feel like this is the only memoir that I've ever read, but also I didn't expect to enjoy and learn so much from reading a memoir. Like a memoir is usually not my thing. Like I normally don't read memoirs. But I can't remember how I got recommended this book, and I was like, okay, you know what, this seems really interesting. Like it's not every day that I get to read the perspective of somebody who grew up in a religious cult. And I don't know, it got me reflecting a lot on just like how, I don't know, I think it just got me thinking a lot about how privileged I am. Well, we are, like all of us listening to this right now, I think. And how, you know, the simple things to be grateful for. Like I'm so grateful that I didn't grow up in a cult. I'm so grateful that I was able to get an education and to go out and see the world, and that I had a family, I had a parent and a community that supported me throughout that. And how, you know, it's crazy, some of us don't, like even until today, like in 2024, there are still people out there that they don't get to go to school. They live in a cult. They live in this sort of like miniature version of North Korea, where it's like there are people in power over them telling them that this is a version of the world that they ought to believe in. Like it's crazy. So I put this on my list because it is the book that enhanced my perspective of the world this year. Next, number 4 is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm not even gonna go too much into it because I mean I feel like everybody has heard of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And actually approaching the end of the year and the new year, y'all should definitely pick up this book if you haven't. Atomic Habits is basically just like how can you make tiny changes that can accrue to big changes in your life. It's basically like the art and the science of solidifying habits, which is definitely going to be useful because like y'all are going to be wanting to, you know, stick to New Year's resolutions and all of that. So yeah. Number 5 is Surrounded by Idiots by, what's his name again? Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson. And this was also the book that, so this year, Grace Tahir, who, you know, we've done an episode with on the show, but also I'm sure everybody knows who Grace Tahir is. So Grace Tahir, over at Everest Media, her media company, I guess they host this thing every so often where they do like a book club. They gather every once in a while to talk about a book that everybody's reading together. And for one of them was Surrounded by Idiots. And I can't even remember how this came to happen, but basically like they selected me as one of the panelists to talk about the book because like they knew that I'd read the book. And Surrounded by Idiots is really fun. If you guys like anything in the realm of like exploring yourself, exploring your personality, why you are the way that you are, I think that this is a really fun book. It is reminiscent of taking the MBTI. It's actually based off of, if you guys have ever heard of the DISC, what is it? Dominance, Influence, Compliance, and Steadiness. So that's what DISC stand for. It's basically based off of that. It breaks down different personalities into 4 primary colors. There's red, yellow, green, and blue. And if y'all are wondering what I am, I'm more dominant in red. I'm a red mixed yellow. Usually in, I think most situations, I'm a red and yellow. Like definitely in social situations, I'm red, yellow. I'm a red mixed blue at work. And my team my team at TIGS and anybody that has ever worked with me before professionally, like they can attest to how I'm very heavy in blue when I'm in work mode, but outside of work mode, I'm all social. But the base color is always red because I'm a bitch. It's one way to put it. Really fun book. I really like it. Number 6, How to Grow Your Small Business by Donald Miller. For those of you that are starting small businesses, you know, like you are exploring being an entrepreneur and starting your own ventures, this is a really great book. I'm gonna insert a photo on screen just to show you guys that this is one of those books that you wanna sit down, you wanna pay attention, you wanna grab those little sticky notes that you can write things on, highlighters, pens, sit down with it, take notes, highlight a bunch of stuff, because this really is like, it's a small book and it's very easy and quick to read. I think I finished it in like a day or 2, but really packed with so much knowledge on how to go about being a first-time entrepreneur or just starting a venture like from zero, working your way from the ground up. And I think, at least in my opinion, and as far as I've implemented this book in my current position as somebody who's starting a small business, y'all know that LB is now in Watson's, press on nails if y'all need it. It's applicable internationally. Like, it doesn't just work in, like, let's say the United States, where this is like Donald Miller's An American Man, but so much of it is transferable over to Indonesia as well, or perhaps other parts of the world, give or take. So yeah. And then number 7, the last one on my list of best books of 2024, is Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. Even though I read this book last year, but I reread it again this year. It's one of those books I feel like it's like Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Like, it's just useful to reread it every year to be reminded of, like, I guess, essential fundamental things. Like with Ego is the Enemy, it's like to keep your ego in check. And with Why We Sleep, it's literally like we need to be reminded every once in a while of why it's important to get enough sleep. It's a nice audiobook funny enough to fall asleep to. And actually, I remember, like, in the introduction of this book, Why We Sleep, when I was listening to the audiobook, Dr. Matthew Walker, he wrote something along the lines of, like, please use this book as a way to help you sleep. Like, listen to this as an audiobook and hopefully it makes you doze off. I'm not gonna be offended if you do. If anything, like, that's what I want. And so, yeah, this is a good book to doze off to in the occasion that y'all can't sleep, as an alternative to doom scrolling before bed, in bed, during the time that you're supposed to be asleep but you're not, because social media is addicting. Yeah. And that's about it. Now we're gonna move on to my list of worst books. I only have 2, but before I do that, I want to give a quick shout out to, I wouldn't really put this as like best book, worst book. It's like just in the middle. It's like an okay book. There's this book called How to Cure Burnout by, I fucked up the title. Hold on. The title of the book is actually The Cure for Burnout: How to Find Balance and Reclaim Your Life by Emily Ballesteros. It's a good book, and I feel like it's gonna be helpful for a lot of you. Certainly, it was helpful for me. I remember sort of like the middle, approaching the end of the year, I was starting to burn out a lot, and that's actually the reason why I bought this book. And actually, it was divided into 3 sections. I cannot remember what the sections were. The first 2 sections were very, very useful. For me personally, I think the last section was all about how to, like, draw boundaries, which the reason why I didn't feel that I needed to read that section and I kind of just skipped it is because I personally don't have a problem with drawing boundaries with people. Like, I'm kind of one of those people, like, I am a people pleaser by nature, but I only want to please the people that I care about to please, and then everybody else I don't care about pleasing. So I'm kind of black and white, hot and cold like that. So, but even then, like, with the people that, even though I do care about pleasing, like, I am good about putting myself first before I put anybody else's needs. So I personally felt like I didn't need help much with, how to establish boundaries with people. But I know damn well that a lot of you listening to this, like, y'all are definitely going to benefit from that section. And also, Buzzer, please give me back my book. I lent the book to Buzzer from the Based Indonesian Show. I don't even know if that boy read it or not, but it's the end of the year and I want my book back. So Buzzer, give me my book back, please. Thank you. Moving on to worst books. Like I said, there's only 2 on my list. Number 1 is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. I have no idea how the fuck this book made it on so many bestsellers lists. I think it sold like over, I want to say 5 million copies. I'm like, what the fuck is this book going on about? I find it so cringy the way that it's written. I don't feel like it gave me a lot of useful information. This was definitely not worth my money. Next, number 2, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna disagree with me on this one. Principles by Ray Dalio. I kind of just gave up. I don't even know how early on in the book I decided to give up. I gave up. I just think it's really hard to read, in large part due to the way that Ray Dalio writes it. I'm not saying it's written like it's Shakespeare, but I think it's just so... there's a lot of really good values and ideas and principles that are taught in the book that are actually very simple, but it's explained in an overly verbose way by Ray Dalio that it just feels so tiresome to get through one chapter. And I know this is gonna sound either, I don't think petty, but this is gonna sound stupid. I spent so much money on the book because it's a hardcover. I mean, it's really thick. It's a really thick book. And I want to say it costs like 400K, 500K. So in my head, I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to give this book one more try. I just want to give it one more shot, mainly because I want to get my money's worth. So yeah, that. I guess on the topic of New Year's resolution, I want to read more books in 2025. Like I want to target 12 to 15. So this year I only read around, I want to say like 7, maybe 8, maybe 9 books this year, and next year I want to bump it up, physical and audio. But I do want to invest in a Kindle because I do feel like, I don't know if this is a stretch, but maybe perhaps in line with my goal of living more minimalistically, I don't know which version of that is grammatically accurate. I guess in line with my goal of wanting to be more minimalistic and have less belongings, I should opt for a Kindle. Maybe, I don't know. I've wasted a lot of time just doom scrolling on the internet this year. And funny enough, doom scrolling is the word of the year. I can't remember who put that out. Hold on, Doom scrolling was the McQueary Dictionary's word of the year for 2020. Oh, it's 2020. It's not even for this year. 2024. Oh, sorry. Doom scrolling is not the doom scrolling was the word of 2020. Brain rot is the Oxford University Press word of the year for 2024. I feel like the one thing that I really want to get better at is just, I guess, time management and productivity. Like, I'm not saying that in a way that I have to be productive every single time and I gotta work 24/7. It's not necessarily like that, but even when I'm taking a break, it's become a problem that now it's not just my work that is constantly on screen because, I edit, I film content, and I'm constantly staring at screens when I'm working, but even my leisure is on screen. Actually, these days, I don't have a problem with scrolling on social media anymore. My problem is that I'm hooked on YouTube and Disney Hotstar Plus, especially Disney Hotstar Plus. I have been binging 911 on Disney Plus nonstop. On YouTube specifically, I've developed an addiction, almost a dependency on this one channel called Cinema Therapy. Oh my God, I love Cinema Therapy so much. Cinema Therapy is basically, there's this psychologist, family therapist, psychologist named Jonathan Decker, and a filmmaker named Alan Seawright, and these two are best friends. And they would get together, they would watch, let's say, Up from Pixar. And so it's like analyzing Up from Pixar, both from like the perspective of a film director, which is Alan, and Jonathan Decker, who is a psychologist, family therapist. And it's just, you combine the two together. Y'all know that I love to psychoanalyze everything. I mean, not even just psychoanalyzing, I love analyzing everything. And so when it's like watching two people, like professionals in their profession, do that is just, I love it. I love it a little bit too much that I'm not gonna lie, I've spent a lot of time binging Cinema Therapy when really I should be doing other more productive things related to work. So yeah, I kind of have that problem going on with me. And actually, in order to curb that, I've picked up this app. Opal is this app that blocks social media apps or whatever other distracting apps on your device for however long that you set the timer to, and it is like fucking bulletproof. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. You know what? It's fine. I'm rambling too much in this episode. I should not have done this alone. I should have gotten your brother to come on screen. I hate this. I feel like I'm just rambling. This is hard without somebody to go back and forth with. Another really fun thing that I've been doing to basically help me focus on tasks and to make sure that I get shit done is I use this app called Forest. So Forest is an app where you can invite your friends as well. So you can make it into like a group activity. You can plant virtual trees. So let's say you set the timer to 60 minutes and you tag it, it's 60 minutes of you doing work. Okay, so for 60 minutes, you put your phone down, you do whatever it is you need to do within those 60 minutes. It grows a virtual tree or plant. And when those plants grow, you get coins. And you can spend those coins to basically shop on their store, to shop for new types of plants. Like, for example, you can shop for an apple tree, you can shop for a Christmas tree, or whatever other types of pretty trees. And you grow your forest. The more you use the app, the more you hopefully use it to focus on, like, let's say, getting work done or doing other things that are productive and beneficial and healthy for you, besides just, I guess, scrolling on social media. And not only that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if the app does it automatically, but you can also donate your coins so that you can plant a real tree in real life elsewhere. So like that's what the company does. And I think it's just a really brilliant app, and I've been using it for the last couple of years. I want to say like 2 years ago, and I love it. And you guys can add me as well, actually. Like I'm thinking about doing this with some of you listeners here for TIGS and like my followers on social media. You can add me. I don't want to give out my email. That's the thing. Hold on. You could add me by email, but I don't want to give you my email unless that's like the only way to do it. Hold on. Fuck. Change password, change email address. Or actually, maybe it's fine if you guys have this email address, since I don't really. Actually, no, I should change my email address first and then like add you guys. So basically I'm gonna change it to my it's indaG@gmail.com email, which is fine for me to publicly disclose because that's the email that if you guys go on my Instagram and you click, I think there's a button for emailing, so that's the email that people used to reach out to me anyway. So I'm gonna change it to it's indaG@gmail.com by the time that this episode goes up, and y'all can add me there. And we can plant trees together. We can focus and be productive and live healthier, better lives together while planting pretty virtual trees. Yeah. So basically for my holiday reading list, it's Invisible Women by, I want to say her name is Caroline Perez, sorry. So it's Invisible Women, Data Bias in a World Designed for Men by Caroline Criado Perez. And I've already started reading it, but I'm going to be finishing it over this holiday. And basically, if you have never heard about this book, I think Najwa Shihab talked about this book one time. So it's basically the book that exposes a lot of like built-in biases, gender biases. The book talks about, for example, biases in medicine, how so much of medicine, everything from drugs to treatments, has always been tested on male bodies and not female bodies. And then number 2, this one's a really thick book, so I'm gonna be surprised if I can finish this in just like 2 to 3 weeks of this holiday. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. The thing with me is that I feel like ever since I started college, I've lost my love of fiction, and I really want to get that back. Okay, now let's move on to my must-reads in 2025. So basically, my entire list of must-reads in 2025 are all the books that I currently own at home that I need to get through. And actually for 2025, I need to not break this rule. In 2025, I'm not allowed to buy a new book because I have so much books laying around at home. So I want to get through those books first. I want to get my money's worth on those books first. And then I can start spending more money buying newer books. So yeah, the first one is Indonesia, etc. Shout out to Adit MKM for this one. I've actually started reading it. I'm not done with it. So far, I really like it. It's so useful for especially those of you that are Indonesian, grew up in or maybe you're not Indonesian, but you grew up in Indonesia, but you feel like you're very out of touch with who Indonesia is exactly. Maybe there are gaps in your Indonesian history knowledge, especially if you're like me and you went to an international school and they did not teach you Indonesian history at all. This book is a really good introduction to that, to just really help me get to know Indonesia. On my list is also this book called Jakarta, History of a Misunderstood City. So I'm kind of going through this, I guess, journey. I want to go through this journey of basically getting to know Indonesia better. I mean, part of that is I want to do this thing called hashtag Indah Merakyat 2025. But Indah G Merakyat 2025 is like the things, activities that I want to do. Like, for example, taking the bus, right? But part of Indah G Merakyat 2025 is also just I want to read books that help me get to know Indonesia, help me get to know Jakarta, you know? So Jakarta, History of a Misunderstood City, I think that's a really good one. And then besides that, that was actually number 6 on my list. Number 2 on my list, after Indonesia, etc., is actually How to Teach Economics to Your Dog. Number 3, done. This one is by Jacques Peretti. And shout out to my friend Mark Yanta, because he was the one who lent me this book. I have no idea when am I gonna return it to you, but I'm planning to return it to you by the end of next year because I'm planning to finish this early next year. So, fingers crossed. Number 4, High Impact Content Marketing by Purna Viraj. It's a marketing book. Number 5, Good Arguments. I want to say, I didn't write down the name of the author for this one. I want to say the author's name is Boss Ho. And it's just basically like a book on how to debate better, how to argue better, which is definitely something that I need because that's kind of like what I do. Number 6 is like what I said just now, Jakarta, History of a Misunderstood City. Number 7, I can't count. Number 7 is The 48 Laws of Power. I want to say the author's name is Robert Greene, and actually this is one of the banned books in United States prisons. So prisons in the United States have a list of books that are banned that inmates are not allowed to read, and this is one of them. And I think for very obvious reasons. I've actually gone through the book like I've kind of skimmed the pages. I've read the introduction. I know in brief what the 48 laws of power are because it's like written in the front of the book. And when you go through it, yeah, you can see why this book is banned in prisons because it's kind of turns you into a psycho. Number 8 is The Body Keeps Score. Is this the book that Oprah read? Hold on. The Body Keeps Score. Oh, no, never mind. It's not Oprah. It's Bessel van der Kolk. I think he's, by the sounds of that name, I think this man's Dutch. Yeah, The Body Keeps Score. Number 9, Digital Marketing Strategy. I can't remember the name of the author. Digital Marketing. I'm gonna post a photo up on screen. Number 10, Profit First. Number 11, this one's fiction. All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. So I think it tells the story of a pedophile. Yeah, I think that's why this book is controversial. I'm pretty sure it tells the story about a pedophile. It's like this older man, he falls in love with a child. So yeah, it's just a book, guys. Number 12, The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. Number 13, Principles by Ray Dalio. I want to give it a second chance, so it's on the list. I'll save it till like the very, very end. Now, number 14, last one, is The 5 Rules for Successful Stock Investing. Also got that back in college because I was a finance student and I never got the chance to read it. And yeah, that's about it. Other things that I want to share, reading resources that I use. Like there are 2 apps. I wouldn't say it makes reading more fun. I think it just makes my reading a lot more organized. So there's this one book app called Bookmori. If you guys remember the episode that I talked about with Adit MKM, I mentioned there's this platform called Goodreads, right? So I used to have a Goodreads, and then I discovered Bookmori from actually Grace Tahir was the one who put me on this app, and I like Bookmori so much better than Goodreads, and so it's basically become my replacement for Goodreads. And then I use this app called Highlight. I'll put it up on screen. It keeps whatever you highlight in the book digitally. Super clutch. I recommend it. And yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. I regret doing this solo. I wish I'd gotten a guest, or at least Peter, to make this episode more fun. I'm gonna try and edit this in a way that makes it a lot more engaging and not at all awkward, because Tito is definitely feeling the awkwardness watching this happen live. I should never be allowed to get in front of the camera alone ever again. And yet I have to film another episode after this one. It's for the New Year's resolution, so stay tuned for that one. And yeah, happy holidays, happy reading. Bye.